What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a great wide receiver football IQ quiz to test your knowledge of the position. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and you would like access to 200 plus wide receiver drills, all given to you with sets, reps, and put into specific categories, check out that very first link in the description below where you can learn how to get access to all 200 of those drills. We'll break down all the drills into specific categories, like we said, wide receiver routes, releases, catching, the gym, and even more. So check out that very first link in the description below if you want to improve your skills this off season. Let's get back to this video. So now, if you're not familiar with our quiz style videos, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to show a pre-snap look. I'm going to ask you a series of questions about that pre-snap look, give you a chance to answer those questions, then break down why it's right or wrong. Okay, so now, first example here is how would you guys run a 15-yard deep post? So 15-yard deep post, like a shot post over the top, versus this inside shade off coverage where the DB is sitting about 6 yards off. Okay, so you guys go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. Again, a deep 15-yard post versus off coverage inside leverage at 6 yards. So you guys go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So number one thing, like we talk about in every single route running IQ video, we need to have a pre-snap process as a wide receiver when coming up with my plan. That's the whole reason why I make these videos, is so you guys can get that pre-snap process dialed in, so it's a second nature habit when you come up to the line. So the first thing we look for in this pre-snap process is the DB's leverage. So is he going to be lined up inside shade? Is he going to be head up? Or is he going to be outside shade? So in this case, he's inside shade. So that means we know that he is trying to stop the post, the dig, the slant, anything breaking to the inside. Now, since he's 6 yards away, that tells me that, again, that's the second thing we want to look for, how close or how far the DB is. And then lastly, the coverage. So he's inside shade, about 6 yards away. Eyes are on me, so we know it's man. So if I have to run a 15-yard deep post and he's sitting at 6 yards inside shade, if you guys said that you want to try to attack his outside shoulder for about 15 yards, get him to flip his hips, then slip under, that would be incorrect. If you guys said that you would want to kind of attack him, maybe threaten him a little bit, get him to stutter, and then try to work to stack until you get to 15, that would be correct. So let's talk about why. Let's play this full speed. So this wide receiver runs up, kind of gives a little tempo change, then accelerates and breaks it off and runs this post. So let's talk about why this is correct. So we're used to like having to run like a quick 10-yard post when the DB is sitting about 6 to 7 yards off. Now, when it's a deeper post, like 15 yards, like a deep shot post, we have to treat this almost like it's press coverage, right? Because the break is at 15 and he's sitting at about 6. So like, let's say, for example, let's make it simple. Let's say you have to run like a 10-yard post and DB is right up in your face, inside shade press coverage. You wouldn't just take off and go run at his outside shoulder, then break underneath, right? You would attack him inside, try to get him to move, then take this outside release and try to stack. So same idea. If your break is at 15 and he's sitting at 6, we can't expect him to just turn and open up his hips and run, especially when I have to run a deep, skinny post. The type of post also makes a difference. Because like if it's like a 10-yard post, you could probably break that a little bit on a harder angle. But if it's a deep, skinny post, we want to treat this like it's exactly press coverage. So we want to close the distance, and he gives this little like change in tempo to get that DB to settle. That's the same thing as essentially attacking his leverage. Then he's able to slip back over the top, stack him, and run that deep, skinny post, giving the quarterback plenty of space and not having to cut at a hard angle. So if that's what you guys said, like attack him or change tempo, then take the outside release to 15, that would be correct. We would not treat this like a normal off-man post. The only time we would do that is if he was closer to the break point. So let's say, for example, he was like 10 to 12 yards off inside shade. He would never do that, but let's say he was. That's when I would say attack his outside shoulder, then slip under, and you maybe have to keep it skinny, right? Because you're not going to attack his leverage for 12, then be able to stack. But again, like let's say, for example, your post was at 8 yards, and he's sitting about 6 to 7 inside shade. That's when you'd attack the outside shoulder, like we said. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job changing tempo by this wide receiver, then accelerating up to win on that deep, skinny post. So now, next example here that we're going to talk about is this coverage here from this DB. So this is going to be, how would you guys run? I'm not going to give you the coverage. I'm not going to give you a rundown. How would you guys come up with what's the pre-snap process for this look? And how would you guys run a fade route versus this specific coverage? If you were this wide receiver, how would you guys run a fade route? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So pre-snap process-wise, we got to identify what? DB's leverage. So it looks like this DB's shaded to the outside a little bit. We got to identify how close or how far he is. He's about 5 yards off, and then what's the coverage? His eyes are to the inside looking at the quarterback. He's outside shade, about 5 to 6 off. We know that that is probably zone coverage. His job is probably to protect the deep third or deep fourth of the field, like cover 3, cover 4. So if we have to run a fade, that's kind of a problem, right? He's outside leverage, so I'm probably not going to be able to just run around him because his goal being outside leverage is to prevent the out route, the comeback, the corner, the fade. So if we just try to run around him, he's just going to squeeze me to that sideline and not give me any room. So if you guys said attack blind spot, that would be incorrect. What you would want to do is you would want to use a move called a vertical set, which is essentially where you run up and attack his hip, give him a hard fake to the inside with his right foot, try to get him to crash on a post, and then slip behind him, giving the quarterback room. So let's play this full speed. Let's talk about what this wide receiver does. So he comes off the ball, he attacks, gives a hard fake inside, gets that DB to stop his feet and crash, and then that gives him space to the outside for the quarterback to fade him open. They call it a fade route for a reason because the quarterback wants to fade you over your outside shoulder, but you got to give him room to do so. So a lot of wide receivers just rely on their speed in this case. They'll just think, okay, I'm faster than this guy, I'm just going to run around him. A disciplined DB will squeeze you to that sideline and will not let you get over the top. He will stack us when we should be trying to stack him. So this vertical set, again, we close the space, we give him this hard fake inside, hips, shoulders, eyes, he steps there. Everything about that is going to get this DB to crash. I think he could have closed a little bit more space. I think him trying to step on the DB's toes a little more would get him to crash. But that hard fake to the inside is enough to where we could slip behind, get a step on him, but have this room. Because even if, like, let's say we don't get a step on this DB. Let's say this DB recovers better and he's right here. This quarterback's got all kinds of room to maybe throw me back shoulder. But if we just run to the sideline, he has no space. So if you guys said attack him, give him a fake inside, then slip behind, that would be correct. On this specific example, if you guys said like maybe attack him, then take the inside release, it's tricky on a fade, you guys. It is really, really tough to do that. I would highly recommend doing this. If you start attacking this DB and he just like widens like crazy, then yeah, you probably could react and take the inside release, but it's tough, especially on the goal line, to take an inside release because you have to stack and you run out of space to stack when you are in the red zone. So I guess that would be not wrong, but it is very, very tough to do. Okay, so let's play this full speed. He comes off, good fake to the inside, and then his easy money getting separation over the top. So now, next example here. This is a clip here from Travis Hunter. So how would you guys run a deep streak versus this specific coverage, okay? So what would the pre-snap process be, and how would you guys run a deep streak versus this specific look? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So when we have a DB who's lined up, again, let's talk about pre-snap process, right? So first things first, we got to identify the leverage. We're lined up at the bottom of the numbers. He's on the numbers, so that means that he has inside leverage. He's shaded to the inside, so that means he's trying to stop a post, a dig, a deep post, a curl, force everything to the outside and to his help to the outside, which is the sideline, right? So that's what we identify by the leverage. Now we got to see how close or how far he is. He's about 8 to 10 yards away, so that knows that it's inside shade, off man coverage, and then his eyes are on me and he's in a squared up stance. It's not like the last example where his eyes are to the inside. So this tells me it's off man coverage. So if I have inside shade, off man coverage, and we have to run this fade, you would run it the exact same way you would run it versus that outside leverage zone coverage. So if that's what you guys said, that would be correct. You would want to stem him to the inside, attack his leverage, give a hard fake to the inside, then slip to the outside. Now, Travis Hunter here does this incorrectly. What he does, and this is kind of what I'm talking about, even when that DB was outside shape, when you just rely on your speed and you just try to run around this guy, he is going to squeeze you to the sideline. That is not a good position to be right there. Luckily, Hunter is faster than this DB. But if he ends up with a DB who is just as fast as him, he does not even have a chance on this ball. He's going to be right on the sideline. That DB is going to squeeze him, and we have no room for the quarterback to fade us. Even on a streak, that quarterback wants to fade us over the outside shoulder. We have to hug this red line. That's why the red line is here on the field. That is literally for the wide receivers to stay on and give the quarterback room. Now, again, he does kind of stem him to the inside. He does start to attack him. This DB starts to backpedal, or like inch back, if you will, weave, maybe some might call it. So if he would have just kept attacking him, given him that hard fake to the inside, he would have had way more room. Probably would have been able to get skinny, stack over the top, and make it easier on his quarterback. But because he just ran away, that DB made this very, very tough on the QB and on Travis Hunter. So I'm going to play it again full speed. Just make sure, fellas, we're not just relying on my speed. We have some technical elements because you are eventually going to come across a DB who's technically sound and is just as good of an athlete as you are. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like 200 plus quarterback and wide receiver drills all put into categories for you, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that. We'd love to have you sign up. I'll see you guys next time.